Hear it? Hey, welcome back. Today we are back at the property in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. It's really wet up here, but we are in the beginning stages of applying for our well permit. It was actually only 2 months ago the township enacted an ordinance that we even needed a well permit, but we got to comply with it. They just enacted it. So we are here today staking everything out. I made a little hand scaled drawing to kind of show the inspector where the approximate house location and the well and the septic and everything else is, just so he can see that we are within our setbacks. So a few things I have to think about when siting the well. You can see this is my little sketch here. It's actually scaled the best I could by hand. I didn't really want to use my chief architect real site plan just because that's way more information than they needed for this well permit. But basically I'm trying to minimize trenching distance to the house from the well, but we have to be 100 foot from our leach field. Oh my gosh. Got to be 50 foot from my tank, got to be 10 foot from the house, 10 foot from the property boundary, and I think like 15 foot from a driveway. So basically we have plenty of room here. We're not going to be hurting for any amount of room. So up there is where we marked the well location, and then we're standing pretty much right in the middle of the house pad right here. And there's Elena looking goofy.
This $40 rolling tape measure was one of the best things I ever bought at the beginning of this project. Found it on Facebook Marketplace.
So now we're gonna go to the township, drop this permit off, and hopefully sometime in the next week or two the inspector can come out, approve our site, and give the go-ahead to actually drill. Now in the past few weeks I've actually been interviewing drillers. I've met with 3 of them now, and I'm pretty sure I know the one I'm gonna go with. I got prices from all of them. They all pretty much charge on a per foot basis with some fixed costs like the cap. And I got a pretty good self-education just through YouTube and the internet about wells in general and the process of drilling them and just sort of what to expect. Talking to these multiple drillers was a good lesson in the importance of finding multiple bids for the same thing. The first driller came back with a $12.50 per foot charge rate and a couple other pretty high fixed costs. I think the whole well was going to be like, for a 300 foot well would have been like $6,500. The second guy seemed good. He was very nice, seemed very knowledgeable. His price was sort of in the middle, $10.25 a foot, and I think he would do a fine job. But then I met with one more and their prices were like $9 a foot, and their fixed costs were much lower as well. And they somehow are still able to afford a state-of-the-art rig, and it would be a one-day in and out sort of operation. I talked with their driller. He seemed really knowledgeable about the whole thing. Been doing it for like 15, 20 years. So I think I'm gonna go with the third company. It's gonna be probably around 5,000 bucks for a well. I guess it doesn't really vary all that much, but if I can save $1,000 or $2,000, I'm all about it. And that's sort of one of the benefits of being your own GC is you can make decisions like who's gonna come drill your well, where most contractors have a well driller and whatever the price is, they pay it, mark up 20% and give it to the home buyer. Good morning and welcome back to the property. It is a crispy fall morning here, and I hope you're thirsty because we are about to have some water on this property. We've contracted Myers Brothers drilling contractors in the county over from us, and they are here today to drill a well on our property. They dropped the rig off last night, which is what's sitting behind me. They are on the way now with their service truck, which contains all their water, drill rods. And today I'm gonna try my best to take you along the whole process of what's going on. If all goes well, it should be a one-day endeavor. We should have a hole that produces water at the end of the day. And I will let you know how deep it is, how it all got drilled, and most importantly, how much it all cost. So let's get into it.
This is called the derrick. No, not this derrick. It's about a 30-foot tall tower that lifts up, includes all the drilling equipment, including the rods and bits. There's a drill head mounted on the derrick that holds the drill rods and is able to spin, provide upwards and downwards pressure, and pump air through the rods. The driller stands on the back of the rig where there's a fairly elaborate control station. They also brought a support truck which contains things like extra fuel, water, all the casing, and extra drill rods. Here's what the drill bits look like. Not your average drill bit. They're made of tungsten carbide, which is a very hard metal, and they're hollow to allow air to be pumped down through the center and out the bottom. The air is extremely high pressure, about 380 psi at 1100 cubic feet per minute. You can even see the ground move when he starts drilling here because the air has forced its way in between the layers of soil. The drill rig puts immense downwards pressure on these drill bits, as well as spinning them in a hammering action at the bit. The hammering action is created by the air pressure. There's a piston that moves up and down inside that bit about 2,200 times a minute. Additionally, the air is escaping the bottom of the bit and blowing out all of the drill dust and potentially any water up through the top of the hole so the driller knows what's going on. The driller watches and listens carefully during these first 100 foot or so to know what type of rock he's in and where there's potentially water. You can tell by looking at the color of the dust what type of rock he's in. Brown is typically sedimentary and found within the first 100 foot or so of drilling, but then it almost always eventually turns to a light gray when you get into the harder, more dense rock. The rig is powered by a separate 380 horsepower diesel engine, which uses this massive cooling pack to keep cool. The drill rods are 25 feet long. When he gets to the bottom of one, they're able to unscrew. The drill head lifts all the way up. A carousel swings in with another drill rod, and the new rod screws onto the existing rod in the hole. You can think of it as a very long, extendable drill bit with multiple sections. We were fortunate and hit some water at 91 foot. It didn't seem like a lot at first, so the driller kept going to see if there was any more further down. He ended up stopping temporarily around 200 foot to switch drill bit sizes to a larger bit to get ready to install the PVC casing. With the larger bit, he drilled down just above that water level, right around 85 feet, for the casing to sit in.
Well, do you know that saying about how typically things don't go to plan? Behind me is the rig. The guys are gone. It is like 4 o'clock on day one, and they were supposed to be done today, but we had an issue around 11 o'clock. Things were rolling just great. We actually hit water at 91 foot, which is awesome. Drilled a 200 foot, hit a little bit at like 150 foot, a little bit of water, but nothing crazy. And all was good. Drilled the 200 foot and pulled the bit back up. Started with the larger bit. He drilled down to about 85 foot for the casing depth. All was going well. He pulled that bit out and we started putting the PVC casing in, and all of a sudden, engine just shut right off out of the blue. Now, here's a backstory on this. When I got here this morning, I was looking this thing over closely, just looking at the machine. I'd never seen one up close, and I'm a mechanical engineer, so I like these things. And I noticed that the engine was black and everything else was white, and the engine also looked really new. And so I asked him when he got here, just get a new engine? And he said, yeah, about a week ago, they put this newly remanufactured engine in. It was $50,000 to get this engine put in, and they haven't had any issues with it all week since they've been drilling with it. They've done like 5 or 6 wells, and it's had like 20 hours on it. So in theory, it was gonna run great today, which it did, until it didn't. All of a sudden, the thing just shut off. It wasn't even under load. It was just sitting there idling while the casing was getting hoisted up, and it just quit. He tried cranking it over once more. It fired for like 2 seconds and then died right back out immediately. Thought it was fuel, checked fuel, oil, antifreeze. No idea what it is. There is a little diagnostic screen back here. It's very primitive, but it was giving something like a CAN bus error, which tells me it was an issue in the computer. So unfortunately, we weren't able to troubleshoot it. I tried to help the guys out too, and to no avail. We use similar engines at work, so I have a limited amount of experience working with these Cummins diesel engines, but unfortunately you can't do a lot of troubleshooting without the laptop and the special software that goes along with it. So tomorrow at 6 a.m. Cummins service truck is going to be here to try to troubleshoot this engine and see if we can get back up and running. What's even tougher about this is Elena and I actually have a wedding to go to this weekend, so we're supposed to leave town at like 1 p.m. tomorrow, and I was really hoping this is going to be a one-day affair. When I originally talked to them, they said no problem, it would be a one-day thing. It's a really powerful large rig, so that wasn't going to be an issue, but things don't always go according to plan, if there's anything that I've learned so far in this process. It's about 10:15 the next morning. The Cummins tech has been here since around 6 and still diagnosing issues. Found one burnt up wire in one of the electrical enclosures, but even after replacing that, there's still issues. Basically one of the data lines somehow got 24 volts to it, so it burnt up pretty bad. And I think it might end up being a whole harness replacement on the rig side. So we might be here for a little while.
Yeah, I got the township or borough that you were getting your water from. Now it's doing the ACP error.
So the Cummins service tech got some jerry rigging done on the data link for the engine's ECM, and finally got the thing up and running at like 1 o'clock today.
Once they were back and running, the guys made fairly short work of the rest of the hole. They finished installing the casing and then went back down with the smaller bit to go just a little bit deeper, down to about 250 foot. This will protect us from a low groundwater level if we're ever in a drought, and additionally creates a little bit more borehole storage. The driller actually measured the water flow rate again, and it turned out much higher than he originally thought, right around 10 gallons per minute. When all was said and done, the derrick could be lowered and the rig taken off its leveling jacks.
Hear it? And here is the final product. The cap's got the name of the drilling company on it, and then on the bottom side it actually has all of the details of the well. Ours ended up being 250 foot to the bottom, yielding 10 gallons per minute, and the water level is right around 81 foot.
So now let's talk about cost. The drilling and casing are billed per foot at $9 and $10 respectively, and the cap and grouting are a fixed cost of $60 and $550 respectively, bringing the grand total to $3,710, which honestly I think is pretty reasonable for a supply of basically limitless clean water at your property.
So the last step on this well is around the well casing, between the ground and the casing. You do what's called grouting, which is pumping a cement and bentonite clay mixture. Basically that just fills up the space around and prevents any surface water from getting down and around to the casing and to the bottom of the casing where it might get into your well and contaminate it. Our township requires the grout. Some people do it, some people don't, but we're fine with it. It is a little bit extra cost, like 550 bucks. So they're coming back next week with a different truck to do that. It's pretty quick. And really after that, the well drilling portion is done. Now the next step to finally complete this is when we have a house ready to accept a water pipe, we'll have to dig down next to the casing below frost depth and trench to the house and basically put our water line in. A piece called a pitless adapter gets drilled and put into the well, and that is what allows the pipe from the pump to go up vertically out of the well and then horizontally to the house underground. So I'll probably do a separate video when we are ready for that stage. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Be sure to follow us on the socials. Check us out at masondixonacres.com. And until then, we'll see you next time. And don't forget to like and subscribe.